I can stop it. Our love ain't fine, and I am burning. There is no line if you are far from me. What can I do if I don't see you again? I'm not crazy, I am just as scared. So you please don't go, 'cause I will miss, yeah. You shake my mind, you burn my heart, you stop time, baby, baby, I'm staying here, and I'll be waiting for you. You shake my mind, you burn my heart, you stop the time, baby, baby, I'm standing here, and I'll be waiting for you. Time is running out, and I can stop it. Our love ain't fine, and I am burning. There is no line if you are far from me. What can I do if I don't see you again? I'm not crazy, I am just as scared. So you please don't go, 'cause I will miss, yeah. You shake my mind, you burn my heart, you stop time, baby, baby, I'm staying here, and I'll be waiting for you. You shake my mind, you burn my heart, you stop the time, baby, baby, I'm standing here, and I'll be waiting for you.
We live though, I ain't high, but I still got high hopes. The good vibes never show up on time though, so I'm singing like Mariah with the high notes. So fly though, catch me in the sky. Everybody gotta ask me for a ride. Strapped like a thing that you keep on the side at a wedding as a guest might leave with the bride. So sick like Neo was, I fly in and say shit like a hero does. You got L's and your team got 0 dubs. I put y'all behind bars like a CO would, yup. I survived the flood and found strength somehow to get out the mud. So your little accolade don't count to us. Anything that you try won't amount to us, yeah. No pressure though, flow extra cold. I've been doing well eating my vegetables, and it seems like life feels so exceptional, exceptional. Yeah, and it seems like life feels so exceptional, exceptional. Yup. I supply what's demanded. I find peace, then expand it. Peep, I ain't average. Can't be from this planet, but I bleed through the bandage. Weak, but I'm avid. Go to sleep with the baddest. On my feet, something drastic. Weave to the basket. Couple G's and I'm laughing. For the cheese, I'm a magnet. Deep the advantage. I'm like so far ahead now. I got butter for the bread now. Chilling on a big cloud. And I won't come down, cause this is where I love and I live now. Get what you give out. have to burn another bridge down. It just is what it is now. Life in a bitch, no. It's a curse and a gift though. It should be that simple, yeah. No pressure though, flow extra cold. I've been doing well eating my vegetables, and it seems like life feels so exceptional, exceptional. Yeah, and it seems like life feels so exceptional, exceptional.
This is the rhythm of the night. Oh yeah. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh yeah. This is the rhythm of the night. Oh yeah. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh yeah. The rhythm of my life. This is the rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm of the night. Oh yeah. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh yeah. The rhythm of my life. The button deep on my face. Oh, sunshine in an empty place. Take me to time zero, and baby, I'll make you stay. This is the rhythm of the night. Oh yeah. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh yeah. The rhythm of my life. This is the rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm of the night. Oh yeah. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh yeah. The rhythm of my life.
It's the sweet taste of reward. Is it better than it was before? She's a dark, dirty girl in a world that tells her just how she should live. It's so easy to ignore. Push the limit just a little more. She would die for the chance just to change it, but she's got no more to give. When the lights go down, it becomes the very moment she can see that there's no easy way out of the place that she never really wanted to be. It's that one last kiss. Don't try to save your innocence. One last kiss, sealing all your empty promises. Over and over again. Over and over again. Lying face down on the floor, there's a dim light at the bottom of the door. Won't you just fall back on the darkness? It's calling There's no easy way out of the place that you never really wanted to be. It's that one last kiss. Don't try to save your innocence. One last kiss, sealing all your empty promises. Over and over again. Over and over again. And if only you could let it go. Don't you wanna, but you'll never know. And now you're falling with your concrete toe. It's that one last kiss. Don't try to save your innocence. One last kiss, sealing all your empty promises. Over and over again. Over and over again. If only.
Welcome back to TPL Season 6. Now, yesterday we had Group D action going into today with Group A action between Julio's Disciples and Hong Kong Rebels. Both of these teams won their matches last week, and so now they're heading into the upper bracket final or upper bracket match, whatever you want to call it, here today, Wednesday night. And we'll show you guys the standings right quick so you guys can get a feel for how the standings are. And I mean, Nude, how do you feel about today's matchup? Because I feel like it's going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued to see these teams go at it. I believe we casted HK Rebels. I can't remember if it was in the qualifier or if it was that 7-1 thrashing of Predator, because I believe it should have been a lot closer. There was a couple rounds where Predator just maybe, I think, fumbled the execute, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen a whole lot of Julio's Disciples, so I'm intrigued to see that matchup just because of how well HK Rebels played.
Mm-hmm. And also, this is an interesting matchup because of the map bans that we have for you guys. Speaking of the 7-1 thrashing against PXG, if we can bring up the map bans graphics for like a quick second to show you guys what we're talking about before we head into... Oh, okay. Sorry. Technical difficulties, technical errors on my part. We're gonna go ahead and introduce the teams for you guys before we head into the map bench, just so you guys can get a feel for the teams and the players. I probably should have introduced that first. Starting out with Julio's Disciples. You can pull them up on the screen right quick. We have Prism as the coach, True, Nosy, Nito, Chequo, Ghost, Julio, and the Keys. I don't think that's actually for real, but this is the team. And Prism is a player that I know quite well. He's not a player, but he is the captain, or he is the player, but he is also the captain on this team. I've seen him around, but the rest of them, not too much information, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I feel like I've seen some of the names, maybe some of their highlights, if you will, pop up across Twitter, but that's about it. Prism being the only name I know extremely well, outside of the fact that apparently they have two unbelievable pro league players in Julio and KZ as options to sub in, supposedly, according to this graphic. Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of right. Without seeing them, I don't know the names too well, and therefore it's going to be kind of a breath of fresh air to see what some of these new players that I haven't necessarily heard of, maybe not new to the scene, will be able to do. But if we move on to HK Rebels, a team I have seen, and a very well-known team. Burnt Turkey is the captain. And you have Doug, Vapoa, Rai Rai, and JetCon. This team played absolutely well. Although it could have had a closer matchup in Oregon last week, it doesn't necessarily say anything about how good they played. They were lights out, and almost everybody on that team made a huge play in that Oregon matchup against Predator X Gaming.
Yeah, every player on this team can most definitely pull their weight. Madman is a pretty good coach from what I could gathered. He's a pretty nice person too. So overall, just a pretty good guy, pretty good coach, really good mindset on how the game should work and how the game is. And you'll see him kind of hopping around in the TPL chat quite a bit. That's how attached he is to this team, and that should speak to his passions as a coach as well. And then you also have Burnt Turkey, Doug, Vipoa, Rai, like you mentioned, no well-known players around the T3, T4 scenes. Especially with them having some introductions or having some matches and some experience against higher level teams when they played in SCS a while back. So that should tell you not only about the experience of this team, but also how talented they are. Now, let's head to the map bans and show you guys what our battleground is going to look like. First bin is going to be Clubhouse, followed by a Border bin, Chalet, and Banker out of here. So our theme park and cafe. And so that leaves us in our best of three. It's not a best of one because this is the upper bracket final. Best of three, our first map of the three is going to be starting out on Skyscraper with Oregon and Villa up next, potentially Villa being our third map if none of these teams can break the beak on neither one of these two maps that are going to be played here first. And Skyscraper is an interesting pick, but Oregon from Julios Disciples is also a pick that I'm kind of looking at, not in like, oh, it's an interesting fun way, but like a confused way. They do, of course, have that free VOD on Hong Kong Rebels against PSG when they won 7-1. So they have a free VOD to look at, but still a scary pick nonetheless.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it. It was a 7-1 win on Oregon. So Julio's Disciples going into this is a bit worrying, but maybe a little bit of counter stratting going down in there. Like I said, players not very well known, at least in my eyes, but maybe they have a few tricks up their sleeve. So, but we are starting with Skyscraper, and I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. And I believe we are ready to get into that first map. Oh, 30 seconds. My apologies. So, and Villa being the decider, I'm extremely excited. Villa is a very fun map. I feel like some people find it boring, stale, but I feel like with Solus, if Solus makes it through, there's a lot of new ways to play that map with Solus that make it maybe a bit more interesting or exciting. That verticality it becomes a bit more scary, I guess you could say, with how much ability to play from underneath on most bomb sites.
Yeah, the problem with Villa, though, at least from a lot of people's perspective, those who are on the outside looking into these competitive matches, Villa is, I think, a really good map. It's just it's usually the same thing over and over and over again. And you could say the same thing about Clubhouse and Oregon, or even maps like Chalet or Border, even that get like a decent amount of play time. The strats are usually the same between every team. It's not anything too different, anything too out there from team to teams. Of course, the strats and the operator lineup may be a little bit different, but still very just the same old thing. And people find that stone, people find that boring. But going into the operator bins for Skyscraper, off the bat, you get the Ying and the Nook, and these make some amount of sense, especially with the Ying being in play. On Skyscraper and how crucial she can be for those executions. And then Nook, because Skyscraper is a decently sized map and there's a good amount of stairways too, she can find her value on the flinkage and also just lurking around this map.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree. I feel like we're seeing a lot of those Ying bans come out because people just don't want to deal with those Candelas. Maybe forces the Warden pick not so often, which some teams might want to be trying to move around their lineup. Like you said earlier, the knock, there's so many staircases, so many sneaky little plays. Something we actually saw just the other day from it was Team Mystic bringing that knock consistently underneath. Solus, Azami, you expect that. Solus is so powerful. Azami probably, well, it's not probably, but Azami is also one of those other unbelievably strong players with those 5 Kiba barriers, I believe it is. So, pretty typical bands, and we're going to start here going to Karaoke and T. You see a Monty coming out pretty quick from the side of HK Rebels. I wonder if they're going to stick that. This is looking like a pretty good play here. They have a lot of smoke. And the Monty, they could attempt to go for just a straight top black push and just try to get into Karaoke and plant with Monty Shield facing anybody in team.
Yeah, interesting pick here from Monty because he isn't picked I would say he's not really picked a lot on Skyscraper. I feel he is picked quite a bit, but I feel like a lot of teams also prefer maybe the Osa along with the Monty, or maybe even the Osa over the Monty because you have more mobility, you have a better gun, you have the option to play the shield and play behind it, line up your shots, and again be a little bit more mobile and hold down areas of the map while also contesting for different areas of the map. And you can do the same thing with Monty, but Monty is just a little bit more stagnant. He's only allowed the pistol. He has to, if he unshields, then he's left vulnerable, and he's a lot less mobile than the Osa. So, I mean, it's not a bad pick at all, but, it's interesting too because you also could argue that an Osa could play the role of Monty just as good or if not better.
Yep, but sometimes his preference to Monty could be getting challenged actually quite early, as it looks like the Frost playing on the corner there of T, getting a little aggro. They do have that shield, and that'll be the first hurdle that they'll need to clear. But this Frost is just trying to get spicy and is looking to kill the player behind the Monty early on. So 2 minutes down, and I'm not really sure what everyone else is doing. I do know it looks like Rai is out there with them. Oh, one's underneath, and that's going to be the Ayana, I believe, trying to get some sort of grenade kill. Taco is playing that window. Almost has the opportunity to find the opening pick, but does miss it by just a little bit. And it's actually going to be Vipoa who manages to find one, but the beautiful C4. It took us, I think, 9 rounds in Team Mystic to see a C4. Takes us 1 here, but finally Vipoa, I believe, finding his second with the nade. They're starting to get things moving here, and they're starting to finally look like they're going to get control of these black stairs, but we are down to a minute 30.
Yeah, having this Monty in play allows them to take the top of black stairs a lot easier than usual. They don't have to really do as much work to move into this area, especially with the support system that you usually would have behind the Monty. And now you have a player stuck in the corner of Karaoke. Not only is he getting flamed out, but eventually is going to be pressured by the Monty, but he's not. Instead, he finds a way out, pushes himself into Geisha, and that could spell trouble if he gets a kill into the player on the big window, but he can't. He's down, and now Hong Kong Rebels have that 4v2 lead.
Yeah, you don't want to challenge Burnt Turkey, especially on the AK-12, which we said the other day was the absolute powerhouse gun. He is going to be able to find that crucial smoke, and those extra 2 smoke canisters not going to work out, but it's actually Nito who manages to find one onto Vapoa, making this a little bit more close. As to the 1.5 manages to come in and find the ace. Now he's got to get plant down. His only cover is the Capital on the window. Oh, but the Monty's going aggressive. Pistol out, but it's Chu. He's going to be able to find it. 13 seconds. He's on the rappel, and Nito's going to clean him up through the wall. A beautiful play and a 2v4 to just find the picks. They managed to get the planter down behind the Monty, which was the huge start that was able to give them an opportunity, because now HK Rebels had to attempt to make a play versus just playing the post plant. Really well played from Julio's Disciple, and a great round, bringing it back from what looked like the brink of failure.
Yeah, ultimately, Hong Kong Rebels would want that one back. It's a round that looked like it was in their favors, but they just kept giving up isolated picks. And again, like you mentioned, the planter getting picked off like that behind the Monty, you have to make so many crazy decisions. Not only do you have to move the plant spot, but then you also have to find the kill on the player who just killed your planter, or even just find a way to alternate your strats around that site, and Hong Kong Rebels couldn't really do that. The Monty tried going for a play and then quickly got picked off by Chu. You have players also just kind of entering by themselves on like different areas of the map, and they just got picked off one by one, and there was no immediate refrag. So again, Hong Kong Rebels gonna look to this next round to recuperate some of their mistakes and just rehash them and throw them away and look to the future of Skyscraper. But Julius Disciples, that is a nice round for the mentals and a nice round to grab overall.
Yeah, so we are going to see them move over to Office and Expo, and they're going to attempt to hold the second favorite bomb site. And this will be an interesting one. HK Rebels were the invited team. We talked about it a little bit, I believe, in Team Mystic, how you're the invited team. You want to get that qualified playoff position and prove there's a reason that you were invited, not just for the clout. So a little bit of pressure could be on HK Rebels to perform, but they are a really good team. That's all speculation. I imagine they're calm as a cucumber. hanging out. Comms are good, vibes are good. They know where they messed up on that round. Maybe a little bit of those isolated picks. They're going to start though by taking over in that Geisha side. Going to try and their clear out drum here, and that's going to be, I believe, the Jaeger hanging out over there who had a big round. Chu playing downstairs though, looking to maybe stop any sort of verticality play, but it's actually not coming out. They really are going for a horizontal take, and only time will tell how this will work out. We are down to a minute 45 almost, and I feel like not a whole lot of movement has gone down.
Yeah, no, you're correct. There hasn't been a lot of movement, at least from Hong Kong Rebels. One Selma charge has gone off. I'm not too sure. Well, actually, no, I do. I think it was on a geisha wall on the outside from Burnt Turkey. But for the rest of the movement here from the side of Hong Kong Rebels, up until that point where Nita had to reposition and force himself out of position in order to take care of that Selma charge. Honestly, if somebody's holding their doorway and if they read that position correctly, Hong Kong Rebels could have gotten the first open pick, but instead it's an opportunity wasted. And Hong Kong Rebels again very stagnant, very slow at the beginning of this round. Not a lot of pressure, not a lot of movement applied to this Julio's Disciples defense up until now. Rai gets the first pick, and that's on to Ghost.
Yep, winding down on the minute, they do manage to get the first pick, and they have successfully cleared some of these Salmas, and with the double hard breach, they've also managed to open up the wall behind Nito, so if one of them can maybe just rotate now, they could get an opportunity here to get a freebie while he's looking the wrong way. Prism tried to hold Dragon for his life, but it doesn't work. Nito does manage to down one back, but Dino Doug's there to make another one as Rai himself finds a fourth. It's all left to Chu. He was such a big component and the reason they won the last round, but now he's going to have to make an even bigger play. The impact comes out, but he's not able to find the planter. It's a good plant spot now in a post plant. He'll be stuck downstairs. Taco has his rotate up main, but he's just missing him. Chu has to start taking some gunfights. He's going left, right, center, and it's going to be Taco to push down with the Jackal. And he's going to be able to clean that round up nicely. Also flashed as well. So, you know, that extra bullet count really playing in favor. Honestly, don't even really remember seeing a lot of Jackal scans, though. So, kind of interesting pick.
Yeah, no, Hong Kong Rebels, even though they were very slow and very stagnant in that round, they were just very patient in a way that they forced Julio's Disciples, slowly making them unsettled in their positionings and forcing them out of their own corners and just waiting for their time to strike. And it was just not, I wouldn't really say patience on their part, but just good timing as well as just, I guess, good patience too. And Julio's Disciples are going to go back to this office area site. Yet again, even after just losing it with no real changes, it seems like it's the same operator lineup, and hopefully the mirror setup isn't really the same. That mirror setup on the terrace, towards terrace from the bar area was kind of interesting. It's not a mirror setup or a mirror that I've seen all too often, but it also wasn't really effective in them holding out on that position. So hopefully it's, if they do that same mirror, there's at least some rotation of some utility bandits, charges, whatever the case may be. Sorry, that was an exhibition, not office, my fault. But even then, hopefully there is some utility rotated around there so that the Selmas do not get that mirror as easily, and you force Hong Kong Rebels to waste some utility on that. But they don't do it.
Yeah, the Valcam placement, although it took about 7 tries, very interesting, but it doesn't really see a whole lot, so maybe more of a noise, or maybe it is 100% primarily a C4 expectation there, just trying to throw the C4 underneath it, wait for the player, and then Kapalui. Only time will tell. I wasn't really a big fan of it, but it's actually going to be the sledge taken off the board early on by Prism. Not 100% sure where that went down, but that is going to be a huge pick, as that is 2 nades taken off the board. So now we're just down to the 2 for Ayana, and we see the Valk is down below, so the C4 could be the play. But now it looks like we're getting a little bit of stunting. Taco almost goes down as well. So this is definitely not what you want to see. Nito just a few mere inches away from possibly losing his life, but both players are going to wait patiently for the swing, and it's going to be a miss from Bipoa. This is just stagnating. I feel like no one's on cams, no one's droning. It really just feels like everyone's standing still. But a trade does finally come as this Taco who's going to swing when at least expect it. And I think he has an idea that one player is below, but a minute 25, the push going very slowly.
Like you mentioned, very, very stagnant. But this was the case last round, and somehow, some way, Hong Kong Rebels did find the opening, did find a way inside of the site, and just started absolutely decimating Julio's Disciples. In this round, though, it seems like they're very much stalled out. Julio's Disciples seem to be playing a lot more disciplined in this round, as they're not really peaking as much. They're not really swinging. Apart from that kill on Tonito, who, well, he wanted to play for his life in drums and play for his life. He did. He fell. But Hong Kong Rebels, you still have to find about 4 more picks, and you haven't really broken the exterior of the site down. You still have these electroclaws down. You have a hard breacher that you're not really making much use out of. And there goes Ghost with a nitro kill. He's gonna go down, actually down the stairs, not down and out. And that creates more trouble for Hong Kong Rebels, because you have to find an opening, but it's not very likely in this situation.
Yeah, the gun skill probably going to be what comes alive for this team. We're seeing almost all of them downstairs, maybe having enough Valk cams that they think they can hold this site with the C4. But Chu's going to be the one left playing his life, and he's actually, oh, not just yet. He is going to get finished off by Poa, and now Plant going down, but do they know where? Where's the C4s? Oh, here it comes out, but he moves, but he doesn't move enough. They are able to take down the Valk, but actually Plant goes down. And now it is a 2v3, because I do imagine that they will be able to pick up the Valk, and they do. 30 seconds winding down, and now it's going to be a retake from Julio's Disciples. They do have a health advantage, but Dino Doug is a Fragmite. He manages to find 1 and 2. Now it's all left to Ghost versus the Fragmite. Will he be able to clutch it? He has an idea of where he's playing, but he has that mute. Pros don't fake, you gotta go. Pros don't fake, you gotta go. He comes off of it last second, and he's not gonna be able to hit the shots. Pros apparently do fake, but just not enough to hit the shot. He thought he was coming through the rotate, but he came through the door, and it's gonna be Dino Doug for a final 3K to claim that round for HK Rebels, and they take the map lead. Round lead.
Yeah, that was pretty awkward into that round, at least for Julio's Disciples. Kind of gave up sight just a little bit too early. Didn't really want to hold their ground there, because they were kind of a little bit overconfident in the nitro that went off way too late, like about 5 seconds after the plant went down. Yes, it did kill the planter, but it didn't stop the plant. And that's where Julio's Disciples make the mistake from Hong Kong Rebels, even though they didn't really have a convincing way inside of the site. Find a way in, because again, like I said, Julio's Disciples, they gave it up way too easily. Very overconfident in nitros, and it didn't pay off in the slightest. Didn't really have the intel, or didn't have the intel provided to them on time, whether the calls were late, whether there was some type of nerves or anything or something like that. We will never know. I'm not inside of the Julio's Disciples head at the moment, but I can only imagine how that must have felt to them at the end of that round once Hong Kong Rebels claimed it. And now Julio's Disciples is going to go back to the drawing board, going to go back to the same set that they won in a 2v4 comeback against Hong Kong Rebels to Tea Room and Karaoke. But again, off of the back of a very awkward round that most definitely should have gone their way. Just a bit heartbreaking for them, I imagine. But it is only the 4th round. You have plenty of more to go.
Yeah, we are going to see a lot of operator changes coming out for HK Rebels as they come probably plan to go back to this site, or maybe possibly a different one. We see the OSA come out, which we talked about in the first round that they did lose on Karaoke and T-Attack. And they switch it out for, instead of the Monty, they bring the OSA. And then we also see the Flores coming out. So maybe having some expectations there to use those Rotero drones to try and maybe clear out some big powerhouse spots, maybe force some people to run away. And we already see it. There's a shield there. Rotero drone should be able to clear that just fine. And Prism takes a whole heck of a lot of damage off rip, almost down to 50 HP. So far, HK Rebels getting the map control they're looking for, and not really anything to go against them.
Yeah, this is expected, though, for them to get this, at least this part of the map under lock. VIP, Office, and Exhibition. You don't see Julio's Disciples holding that area of the map down as aggressively, and so they expect Hong Kong Rebels to attack into it, and mainly their setup is geared towards Geisha and also the top of Gong. So I mean, as much as Hong Kong Rebels are getting into the map and they're getting their utility in, they now got the Flores drone, but Taco is gonna be down but not out. So at least there is that savior for Hong Kong Rebels, as one of their main entries isn't out for the count. But Prism finally finds the first kill, and that's onto Vipoa.
Yeah, winding down on a minute, and they have started to reel this one back. Not only do they do more damage to Taco than was done to either one of their players, but Prism manages to add on with a double. Not exactly sure where he's finding these frags, but he is starting to really feel himself, and it looks like it might have been a flank if no one was covering it. Well, another one found onto Burnt Turkey. That's the smoke coming alive there. And now they have to try and push Prism, but Prism, the one player we said was kind of known, is proving why he was, and there's actually two flanking. I don't think Dino knows of the second one, and it looks like he does, but this is going to be one heck of a tall order. He's going to have to still swing Prism, who has been absolutely destroying this part of the wall, that half bar. He has made it his personal spot, and Dino's going to have to play it, and it's going to be another C4 kill, a 4 kill from Prism, as he is going to be able to flank, I believe, and take out every member that attempts to challenge him. Beautifully well played by him. A one-man wrecking crew for Julio's Disciples.
Yeah, very one-dimensional push coming in there from Hong Kong Rebels again. I mean, that's an expected push that you would normally see, but there was also no pressure elsewhere, plus no one watching the flank, and somehow, some way, Prism is able to get a 4K from the flank just because nobody has a flank drone set up. Everybody is like going in for the kills, but nobody's there to watch flank, and nobody is there on drone to at least get enough intel on the setup neither. And Hong Kong Rebels lose that round, and Julio's Disciples tied up. And another site choice that I think is pretty good on this map. I think all the sites are pretty interesting to watch, the other team defend, and that is Kitchen Barbecue, that is going to be picked here by Julio's Disciples. The tertiary site choice, as they don't want to try Office again. They lost it twice in a row. So obviously the thinking there is, well, we don't want to get screwed up there a third time again, even after we were supposed to get that round the second time that we played Office. So pretty interesting site choice from them. And I mean, the operator lineup isn't really that interesting. You have Capkin, you have Frost, obviously as a trap operators, with Smoke being picked here. I wonder where the Smoke is going to play. I imagine that he's not going to be too far from site, maybe above it, helping to defend that second floor.
Yeah, I mean, he does drop back down to main lobby there, and he is going to continue making some rotates, as they're going to save the impacts on Chu. I imagine maybe Curious, just in case they do bring in Osa, as they have been bringing shields a lot recently. So going to keep those extra bits of possible util. And it looks like we are actually going really fast from the other side. Ayana doing a quick clear. Dino Doug getting put on a bit more aggressive operator. He has been playing the Thermite and the Osa, and I believe he was on the Monty, so he's going to get an opportunity to flex his gun, and it's actually going to be him going off quick. Prism, that's the only guy you can't peek. He's on a mission. Dino manages to find the opening pick onto Prism, swinging wide, maybe not expecting a player already to be there, and it's going to lead to his death as Chu gets found by Burnt Turkey, and the site begins to fall apart as HK Rebels continue to find pick after pick.
It seems like two players from Julio's Disciples were caught off guard by the fast and furious push there from Hong Kong Rebels, who look to get their third round, put themselves back into the lead, as they have been for at least the first few rounds here on Skyscraper. And just like that, because of the low man count, Julio's Disciples do not see a reason to defend the top floor as heavily, apart from having Nito play on the black stairs behind the shield. And he does down one, looks to confirm that kill, and it would be a very crucial kill for Hong Kong Rebels if they could do so. But, I mean, not Hong Kong Rebels, for Julio's Disciples, if they could find that kill and confirm it, but he can't, and so he's going to move back down to the first floor and just try and hold out for his life here as Hong Kong Rebels look to wreak havoc from above.
Yeah, and HK Rebels are just pushing down stairways. No one knows what's going on. Everyone's holding their own angle. No one's really playing together, and it's going to be Dokkaebi to just walk down the stairs and just freely swing onto the player playing underneath that drum, playing by the counter, and now it's all left to one man, and he's going to sprint head first into Tino, who manages to add on to his kill tally. And, I mean, it just all fell apart. Early picks get given away, and HK Rebels are just free to walk down staircases with no one looking and no refrag until the damage has already been done. I don't know if it's a site setup issue, an information issue, but that was just not a very well played round from Julio's Disciples. And thankfully, this will be their last defending round. They're going to give Exhibition in Office one more try and hopefully be able to take this one 3-3 going into their attacking half.
Yeah, again, this is a site that hasn't gone in favor of Julios Disciples 2 times in a row. The first time, they just got absolutely smoked on it. The second time, they just gave up the site way too easily, or they were very over dependent in their nitro cells and couldn't really get them off in time, aka they didn't really have any information, just like how they didn't really have any information in the previous round as well. So something to look forward to when we get to Julios Disciples attacks. How well is their information gathering going to be? How crucial is the information going to be for Julios Disciple? And is it going to be something that screws them over? And time will tell, as will their attacking half. And so, Office Exhibition, give it another shot. Let's try it again. Let's get a win on the board for the confidence, boys. But Hong Kong Rebels have a lot to say for that, because I mean, you have some players who are turning up, and it's impossible to stop Doug when he's going on a roll like this. It's very hard to beat Hong Kong Rebels when you see Doug having a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, the big name players are going to be coming out for both sides. I mean, we saw it with Prism, and we had seen Chu and Nito, both very good players. Chu gotten a little quiet since that first round, maybe needs to get put back on the 1.5 Mozzie. But Nito has been managing to find damage and picks every round. He's been a consistent member, and it's actually going to be Prism that's going to do a quick run out onto Taco. And Prism, being that player that we knew, is the one that is continuing to step up for this team as best as he can. And he's just going to keep getting aggressive. Going to try and maybe catch another player off guard, as he was able to catch one, but it is just going to be a matter of time. It does look like they are pushing over from Karaoke and T once again, and it's going to be Ghost actually to find Dino Doug, and this is starting to work well, but I believe this is how it started last time, and it didn't pay off well. Everybody just tried to run downstairs and play for C4s, but there was no C4 that was making it work. So, minute 35, what do you do, HK Rebels?
Let's see what they can do. More precisely, let's see what Julios Disciples do, because they were in a good position like this last time, and I mean, they gave up picks not only just like that, but again, gave up site way too easily. Hopefully, it's not going to be the same case here, at least for Julios Disciples' sake. There is a player still hanging out in this dragon area, and I believe that is the gun of the Ella Ghost. Another pick given up by Julios Disciples. It just keeps going. They just keep on rolling into Vipoa's gun, and it seems like another player is going to be taken out because the Julios Disciple roster has nowhere to breathe. 2 players give up their lives for free, playing a little bit too over-aggressive, and that means areas of the maps aren't being watched, angles aren't being held, and the attack can just move into positions like this. But Prism finds one. He's been a standout player here for Julios Disciples, but he doesn't have a round no longer to play for, and it's all up to the low table player of NZG. He can't find anything. Hong Kong Rebels 4-2 on the half, and they switch over to the defense.
Yeah, it looks like the big problem with Julio's Disciple is the aggression. They have the main advantage. They run away from sight. It doesn't pay off. They have man advantage. They try to stay aggressive. It doesn't pay off. They need to find the middle ground where they're holding crossfires and attempting to get the trades. When you have man advantage like that, as long as you're getting trades, eventually you will have more players left than the other team. They were up 5-3, gave up 2 picks, and then from there on, they actually ended up going down because then they went into a 3v2 with one player down but not out, and then a 2v1, and then that's where it ended. The refrag's just not there for Julio's Disciples, and just some of the playmaking that we talked about on HK Rebels. A lot of these players are so well known in the scene for the ability that they have, and they're putting it on display. I believe it was Rai who found one, and then I think it was Vipoa on the Dokkaebi was just lighting up everybody and was able to find 2, and I believe pretty much find a third until it was stolen by Rai. And it just feels like the big name players for Julio's, who right now to me are Nito and choose, so to speak, with Prism as well, not really able to do what they want to do with their gun skill. But it's another round. They're now on the attack. And we've seen it in professional play. Some people are better on attack than they are defense. It's not the most common thing, but we saw it with Astralis. They were absolutely garbage on defense. I'll say it on stream. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But they were one of the best attacking teams in the entire tournament because they could find the openings. And now we wait to see if that's maybe kind of what we see here with Julio's. Maybe they're just good at finding the openings and they know how to use that aggression. They are trying to take over from the map, from the Expo side, but they really haven't gotten any map control, and I don't even think anyone's in the building yet. And we've lost a whole minute, and that is definitely going to be worrisome as Taco is able to take Ghost head clean off, and he manages to shoot the Rotero drone up his butt. So, unworthy trade and almost traded back, but just not able to hit the shot.
Yeah, for Julio's Disciples in this round, they lose the Dokkaebi and you lose the ability to use those phone calls. And just like that, Nito, who used 2 Flores drones early on, is now down. And he had 3 left. He doesn't have any more to use now. Prism is going to die too. And Julio's Disciples don't really have any utility to use at all because just all of their support players have just been down. So now it's all up to their fraggers to try and clutch things out. You have 2 nades in the hands of Chu. You can try and make something work there. But Julio's Disciples, the main thing that they're seeming to struggle on here is at least some sort of consistent information gathering. I'm not seeing a whole lot of people on drones apart from Nito, who was on his Flores drone trying to drone it in from the office side of the map with nobody playing in behind it. That would make a lot of sense if you're using the Flores drone to dislodge somebody from their position and force them out, and then you have somebody there to catch them on the rotate. But you have nobody there, and that's just one of the many issues here for Julio's Disciples. Makes it even worse. It's a flawless for Hong Kong Rebels on their defensive half, their first defense of the round, and it starts it off with a bang on Karaoke T.
Yeah, I mean, that was just clinical aggression from HK Rebels. They get a little bit aggressive early, look for that first pick, and then they play back a little bit, and they kind of just let Julio's Disciples play into them and find another one. And then just slowly but surely, the bodies keep dropping for Julio's Disciple. All the support players are gone, and in a weird turn of events, the only people left are your entries. And you wonder, how does that happen? Well, it could have been a little bit of misdroning, like we said. Didn't see a whole lot of people on drones, minus a Flores on his Rotero drone, but nobody was following the drone. So what good does that do you if you're not following behind? One of the big things that a lot of things you see in the higher tiers is there's always somebody behind that drone, but not so close that you expect it. It's just a hair off. So you think, oh, I can shoot this drone. And then all of a sudden someone's swinging you at Mach 5 with your head directly in their sights. But that wasn't the case for Julio's Disciples. Everything that was being droned was just pointless intel because the drone was shot and no one was there. And then you can't play off that intel because it's old news. Something Julio's are going to need to fix and fix quick, or else HK Rebels might just continue to run away with this one. We are seeing the mirror get brought out again. We've seen it on both sides for their attempt on this Expo and office hold. And we're also seeing a little bit more wall denial. I think last time on the Julio's Disciples side, they were only bringing 1. But now we see a Bandit and a Mute trying to maybe force some of those EMP grenades early, but and the sneaky Twitch drone get one of these mirrors, that would be a huge play.
Also see some role changes coming up in this round 2. Ghost is going to flex off of the Dokkaebi from last round in OZ, or Nas is going to go ahead and flex into the Dokkaebi from the Ash, and then you also have Nito. Instead of playing the Flores, he's going to play around with the Sophia. So at least, again, with Flores, it's a lot less mobility than the Sophia, but you also get the destruction plus the concussives with the Sophia. So maybe this lineup, at least from Julio's Disciples' perspective, is pointing towards more aggression, more action, because we didn't get to see a lot of that in the last round. And so this is a play style in which they could act off of. Vipo is going to try and run out, does no damage to absolutely no one, but has a lot of damage done to him. His HP is very, very low. His screen's turning black and gray, or at least something close to it. The first kill goes into Julio's Disciples' favor.
Yeah, and this is going very well in their favor until Taco is able to even it back out, but the health advantage still slightly for Julio's disciple. We are coming down on a minute 20, and it is hard to tell what they are attempting to take. I think Ghost is just hoping that this mirror gets a little bit too comfortable on this half bar, but he's not able to find that kill just yet. Oh, and he does swing in, but I think there might have been an opportunity there that was just missed. This is feeling like it's going to be either a push up the main stairs or a Hail Mary through the window, and neither one of those options I really like for the side of Julio's, but I don't believe they hear the player trying to walk up main, and that could be them falling, but it's going to be Taco to go for the run out. It's actually going to be Rai Rai to find the Dokkaebi, but Chu is on the main stairs. He has an opportunity here to push up, and it's only time will tell down to the last 45 seconds. Almost a pick there.
Oh, and the Nitro Soul goes out from Bipolar to confirm that kill. Ghost, who's been on this propel for the whole entire game, has not been able to find the kill. Finally, Chu does go up the main stairs to try and apply some sort of pressure or make a play, but can't do it because all of his teammates are dead, all of his friends are dead, everybody on Julio's Disciples is dead, and that means the round goes to Hong Kong Rebels, putting them on match point 6-2, as Julio's Disciple cannot really put an attacking round together. They get that opening pick, but there's really not anything else to that round other than that opening pick. There's not any other pressure applied anywhere. Hong Kong Rebels know exactly where you are, and they find players trying to make a play on different sides of the map, and you can't make that play, nor can you apply that pressure. And so Hong Kong Rebels, they get that match point and potentially could put themselves on serious point. Unfortunately, though, for Julio's Disciples, you guys can see it in the chat, we are actually going to have a rehost, so you guys will get to see our beautiful faces, and that means we will have a rehost because Julio's Disciples did not get the chance to have the rehost in the first place because a player on their team, their game froze. So, I mean...
Yeah, this is going to be a good opportunity for a mental reset. You're down on match point. This is a best of 3, so not a whole lot you really need to worry about. I would just try and see if you can figure out where the mistakes are going wrong and see if maybe you can fix them and maybe try to bring this back. I mean, they did show a couple of rounds of really good gunplay. That's to say that they can't bring this back. But yeah, I think right now what they need to do is they need to talk about what's going wrong, try to fix those in this map, see if they can bring it back. If not, it's okay. You got 2 more maps where you can win the next one, go to the decider, and still make playoffs. So for me, that would be the big thing right now. Try to fix those mistakes that you notice on this map, and then see if you can come back. But we're gonna go on a quick break while we wait for that player to get back. We'll see you guys in just a few.
Well, back with the game, had to do a little bit of a reset, not just a mental reset, but also just give Julio's Disciples a pause, a tech pause actually, because one of their players had actually left the game, or not left the game, but their game had crashed, so they just needed it for now. But Hong Kong Rebels, if you've missed the last not minute, it's been more than a minute, last few minutes or so, Hong Kong Rebels did take that last round and they put themselves on a 6-2 lead on match point. Next site that they are choosing is going to be that kitchen and barbecue site. And I mean, it's a good round for not only Julio's Disciples to potentially get something out of the skyscraper. At this point, it may be a bit too late, but at least get around on the board because these attacks just have not looked convincing.
Yeah, and coming back from that technical pause where one of the players that unfortunately have a frozen game, they do get an opportunity to talk. And so they will get a chance to maybe just try and win a couple rounds here, get the mental up, figure out if what they are trying to fix is maybe what the problem was. And then, push comes to shove, they either clutch it up or they don't, but they can go into the next round or the next map thinking about what they fixed and how it worked. We are going to see that that first floor bomb site, but the third bomb site in the rotation of barbecue and kitchen. But a lot of people tend to play this upstairs. It kind of gets played the exact same way as you see the tea and karaoke. So that'll be an interesting one to see if they're able to get some top floor control into Geisha and see if they can pressure this top floor presence. But we are winding down on a minute 22, and right now it's just looking like a whole lot of upside down window play.
It's more of a direct approach to this top floor defense from Hong Kong Rebels. Usually you'd see teams when they try and take top floor, it's usually from office all the way over to Geisha, but the first pick happens to seem to be from below, or actually, sorry, horizontally on the top floor. Burnt Turkey gets one, but it's also two back-to-back kills for Julio's Disciples to regain that man count.
And that's going to be huge for them being able to get the man advantage back in their favor. But if they're not careful, which actually Vapo is going to be looking the wrong way, but he's going to get lucky. Nas, where are you shooting, bud? So we're talking, though, another one does get traded back. So Julio's Disciples, for the time being, keep the man advantage. It is going to be down to by Poa and Taco. And Taco's actually upstairs, but it's going to be Chu that manages to find one onto Taco. Taco going to drop, but get immediately got from the player from the bar. I saw it coming a mile away. It didn't happen yet, but I had a feeling it was coming. And it's going to be Ghost to be able to finish up that one. They're able to just find the frags there. That could have been a little bit of over-aggression from HK Rebels. The round was over so fast. It was honestly hard to tell. I think we still had a minute left when that one was over. But maybe that's what they wanted to do. There was a mindset there, and they went into it, and they were able to win that round. And now, just, what is it, three more technically, and they will be right back into this matchup. That was a really good round. I mean, they just didn't give up isolated trades, and they were taking isolated picks.
Yeah, not only that, but they were very quick to get their trades too, and they didn't really diverge too much from their positions. They got geisha control. They knew that they didn't have to overextend and try and clear the player or overdo it with the player over there by T Room, which was Malusi of one of the Hong Kong Rebels player. I can't remember who, but even then, regardless of that, they take control of geisha. They use that geisha control that they do have to then drop down into kitchen, into pantry, and they just waited for the picks to come to them. Hong Kong Rebels do give up that round, but you got 3 more to go. You got 3 more mistakes to make, 3 more big mistakes, oopsie daisies to make before Julio's Disciples, Julio's Disciples do have that chance to tie it up and put us into OT, but that is a long ways away, and you still have plenty of rounds to go. And I mean, that is an off-site choice for the defense. It's a very hard site to actually defend kitchen barbecue. So let's see if Julio's Disciples can attack into one of the stronger site choices.
Yeah, and I have to agree. It is the off-site bomb choice, so it was a good round that Julio's definitely wanted to win, just to be able to take a deep breath and know that they could win one site. And now they get an opportunity, though, to try another one. The biggest difference, I think, between being on 5-2, 5-1, and 6-2, 6-1 is you have no more mistakes. You make a mistake, you give up an easy trade, almost like Nazi did earlier, pushing into that black door. That could be the difference between you getting another opportunity and the map being over. Shooting a alibi, and it's gonna be the real alibi to light that sucker up. And unfortunate that he did shoot the wrong one. Bird Turkey playing aggressive manages to find another one, and this is where those mistakes, like I said, are going to start falling into place. Struggling to take these stronger bomb sites. Flores is going to attempt to start the swing, but Burt Turkey is who Burt Turkey is, and he manages to find a second. And just like that, we're in a 5v2. Prism down to half HP. Ghost is down as well. It's all left to one. This has fallen apart quickly, and all that confidence they got from the last round completely shot away. Prism does manage to find one under Rai, but might be all for naught.
I was looking at the player chat as Prism is finally taken down from the Geisha Hatch as he tried to enter through kitchen, but that is the first map going into Hong Kong Rebels way. 7-3 is the scoreline, and honestly, it felt like a long time coming. It didn't really feel like Julio's Disciples did have a comeback going on. That last round was just, it felt like maybe false hope for them, but nonetheless, it was a good effort at the end. The tech pause not really providing the confidence boost that they needed. Not only that, but the round previous didn't provide the confidence boost they needed. Just some pretty poor attacks, if I must say, especially with the intel gathering not being the best. And it was not only on their attacks where this was prevalent, it was also very prevalent on their defenses where they just kind of like didn't really have any intel to work off of for a good chunk of each and every round that they played.
Yeah, and that's, it was just a lot of issues. I think information in the wrong times to be aggressive versus non-aggressive, giving up those extra picks. And I think this is going to be a tough one. That was HK Rebels map pick. They did pick Skyscraper, but we're going to a map that they even were more dominant on in their first round matchup against Predator X Gaming. They won Oregon 7-1, and that's the second map we're going to. So if you thought, okay, maybe we can do something good on Sky here, but now you're going to Oregon, you picked the map, sure, but HK Rebels have already shown they could play this map dominantly.
Yep, they've proven that they can show up on this map. They proved that they can show up in those playoffs, in the brackets, and any type of competition that they've been in. This is a very experienced team, and this Julio's Disciples, they do have some experienced players themselves, but matching that up to Hong Kong Rebels is kind of just like night and day. But let's see if they can turn around on Oregon. Never say never. I've seen teams get like 7-0 a team on different maps and then get like absolutely dominated on the same map before. So it happens. But we are going to go into a quick break so that we can actually rest ourselves. You can also rest too. But we will be back in a couple. We'll see you guys soon.
Welcome back to TPL Season 6. We are doing our grand final for Group A. So the winner of this best of three does get a qualified playoff spot. We did see the first map go in favor of HK Rebels. They were able to take their map pick of Skyscraper 7-3. And we're going to a map that honestly, from what I've seen, from both teams playing Oregon and then this team playing, and then Julio's playing Sky, I'm leaning towards HK Rebels to take this with a clean 2-0 going on to Oregon.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would say it's gonna be the same scoreline though that they had against PXG. You could even say that Julio's Disciples do have a good chance of winning it, or even just outright taking the map, because they have a free vote on Hong Kong Rebels. We did cast that match; it was live, and so they can look into some of the mistakes that Hong Kong Rebels were consistently making on Oregon. I can't remember off the top of my head because it was last week, but Julio's Disciples, they do have the notes on that, and you have Prism who can relay that information to the rest of the team. So now we're gonna get into the operator band phase. And the last time I casted Oregon, there wasn't really anything too surprising. I think it was like Nook. It was Nook every map I remember yesterday night, but it's gonna be starting off with the Habana.
I actually kind of like that ban. I know there's so many people with secondary hard breach tools, but Habana is actually quite a staple on this map in a lot of ways. And we're going to see Ying banned. So that's actually another set of those hard breach secondaries getting taken off. So, you lose smokes, you lose Yings, but also 2 technical hard breachers get taken off of the board. Azami going to find her way into the tubes. So no Azami plays so far. We'll have to see if we make it to a map 3, if we'll get to see some of those Kiba Bears being deployed. But once again, strong character, no shock. Those Kiba barriers cut off so much rotating sight. And then they act as a secondary shield. Mira, not really shocking. Powerful operator on any map if you can make it work.
Yeah, Mira, there was once upon a time where Mira used to be banned on every single map because she was just that good. And now you can break her mirrors and she hasn't been picked so much. And I think the reason, it's not because she hasn't been picked, she hasn't not been picked just because her mirrors are breakable. It's just, it's like with Thatcher. With Thatcher, he's been banned so much, so many teams are just used to play without him. And the same thing goes for Mira, but on Oregon, Oregon is her bread and butter, especially on the basement side. You can even argue that even on some sort of setups, on some different type of setups on the kids site too, that she has some impact with her mirrors as well. And so bringing her off the board isn't quite surprising, nor is the Azami.
Yeah. So, some interesting bands. I do like them. It'll be interesting to see how the Habana plays out. I do feel like, I think they'll live without her, so to speak. This does feel like a rush to me, judging off the lineup, although a lot of operators have changed, so probably not so much anymore. A bit of a hee ha ha as they begin to switch everybody. I was kind of looking forward to that. You've ruined it. I hate you now. Just kidding. So they are going to go for a more standard site to take here, or not necessarily, but lineup wise. And we're going to see a really standard hold that I feel like I've been seeing come out a lot. It's opening up that attic, playing that shield in trophy, and trying to stunt that master 3 take that a lot of teams were giving up so early on. It also looks like someone is going to be playing in tier in big tower, as they did make a rotate from attic into tower. So very interesting, but already in armory, and he's got someone right on the other side of that little wall. We'll have to see who's going to win this gunfight. As an opponent is detected outside, it's going to be Rai to find the knock. So no more scary, sneaky knock to hide from your cams. You do have that information. Rai finds another one on the Chew. He is coming alive right now with that DMR.
Yeah, unfortunately, Nas just not having the information that Rai was in Big Tower. He did flex onto the hard breach charges from the frag grenades, but Nito's coming alive himself. 3 kills on the board, and he takes out Rai, somebody who was wreaking havoc on a Julius Disciples entry game. But just like that, Nito also just overkicks a little bit, overheats, and think that he can just walk into sight. He's caught onto that rotation by Doug on his own rotation up the white stairs, and just like that, it's an even stalemate.
Ooh, and they are beginning to push into sight, but I think they have no idea where Burnt Turkey is. It looks like he's on the flank. They don't know where Doug is. And Doug manages to sneak one of his own onto an unsuspecting player. And it's all left in a 2v1 Ghost. We saw him have some big plays last game, but now he's going to have to clutch against the two big names that we saw come alive last map. And that's going to be Doug and Burnt Turkey playing this off each other extremely well. And if they can hold these cross angles, there's no way that Ghost, unfortunately, is going to be able to clutch this out.
Yeah, Ghost is just having to face check everything. There are no preset drones set up for him. Something that we talked about with Julius Disciples on their attack is just their inability to really drone properly or just drone effectively to help each other out. And that's been the case so far inside of this matchup. What's really helped them in this round is just Nito going absolutely nuclear. But what's not really helped them is them face checking everything and not having any real information to back off of. And in this case, Ghost in a 1v2, this is very clutchable, yes, but he doesn't have any information. He's left face checking, reveals his position, and he's not really paying attention to people that can easily swing on him, such as Burnt Turkey. Burnt Turkey swings a little bit too late, doesn't find that kill, and now you have to isolate your 1v1s. They're so far away from each other, but he can't even win his ones on a player on the top of white stairs. Call that Canadian position, or call that Burnt Turkey's position, as he makes it his. Hong Kong Rebels the first round on the board on Oregon, and pretty close round, but Julius Disciples couldn't cut the mustard.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really close flick from Ghost. His crosshair just went a little too far, and I think it was slightly high, so he just barely missed that flick, which would have been beautiful onto the castle and really gave him an opportunity to clutch that up. But it was Nito to come alive and find the 3K where he was just on a mission to give Julio's Disciple that round back. Unfortunately, he overgressed just a little too much and was cut down swiftly for it, leaving Ghost in that 1v2. And they played it perfectly. Between Doug and Burnt Turkey, they played that off of each other. Doug stayed back. They had the crossfires. And then it was quite clear that it was going to be a play for your life because it didn't really look like the angles were there unless it was Doug holding him if he tried to swing white even more aggressively. Just a really well played map from HK. I feel like there was some aggression that really bit them in the butt there and almost led to them losing that round. But nonetheless, the hot start from Rai, they were able to keep things in motion for them to win that round out still. And now we find ourselves on the downstairs basement hold.
Yeah, downstairs basement hold with not really too much surprises on how Hong Kong Rebels are looking to hold the site. Last time I casted Oregon, which was yesterday night, and I can't remember who that was against. Can't really talk about it right now. Nas gets the first kill, and that's onto Vipoa, who seems to have just overaggressed a little bit towards that shower's hallway, and he just gets caught out at least, or gets caught out, but at least at first I thought it was Nito, and then I literally just read it was Nas. Anyways, Julio's Disciples get that first pick and get the early man advantage.
Yeah, that's something that Julio's Disciple are definitely going to want. But if they're not careful, Rai having the opportunity to try and get aggressive. And that's something we do see on that Fraser staircase. But he is going to want to be cautious because that hatch was already open. But he's able to get all the way back into sight, free and clear, minute down. And they're going to attempt to try and find this player. But the mute jammer is really causing a problem. There was a meeting hold player earlier as well, and I'm not sure if they've fallen off yet. And it's actually Burnt Turkey who's still in there. He's going to continue to play this, but he does now just fall back, and that is going to be meeting control for free for Julio. So a minute 40, a little bit under, and I feel like they've taken a good bit of map control and gotten the opening pick. It's looking good.
Yeah, it's looking good. But because Vipoa died so early, he isn't able to hold servers alongside Rai or whoever else was holding the top of Freezer stairs. And so that forces Hong Kong Rebels to play a little bit less aggressive. You also see Nito get taken down, and I'm pretty sure that was by Doug, who gets the kill over by the big tower. And so even though most of the roam has disappeared from Hong Kong Rebels, you still have a player lurking around the big tower's area, which if Julio's disciples don't deal with him in time or deal with him properly, he could wreak havoc on his team and absolutely screw him up as Hong Kong Rebels or Julio's disciples go for this execute. But instead, they're still taking out some of the site players that exist for Hong Kong Rebels. Smoke grenades go out, but it's not enough to stop the killers. Rai finds one back, 40 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, Doug completely off site too. He's gonna have to rush back quick. His teammate needs help. It's all up to the smoke in sight. It's pretty much a 3v1. If they know this, they could attempt to start going for the plant, but Doug is already starting to work his way down. And the crossfire comes out, but he's not gonna be able to get it because Doug has got his back. Ghost getting torn up by those smokes, and it's actually gonna be Chu to press in deep. He's got that small closet, but Rai manages to finish him off. And it's all down to the one, and Doug finds it. HK Rebels playing that so perfectly, so beautifully. Doug managing to make it back into sight in time to help out his comrade. And just like that, a 1-2 domino effect. Doug finds one, Rai to the next, and Doug to finish it off to give HK Rebels their second round here in Oregon.
What did I say? If they don't deal with Doug properly, if they don't find him out early, he is going to find a way to make you pay for it, and pay he did. He got a 3K in that round, and not only that, he just dealt with so many players who were trying to pressure his only teammate into sight. Yes, he was far off sight, but he found a way to make it back on time. Maybe just a little bit slow in the button from Julius Disciple to actually take advantage of their man advantage on sight, whether it be them playing a diffuser, whether it be them 3v1ing the smoke. They didn't really have anything to execute with. For some reason, they didn't try to execute. They didn't try to plant. They didn't try and 3v1 the smoke. Instead, you just saw players kind of like just going in their own way, face checking things by themselves, and then just dying in tandem one by one. And that gives Hong Kong Rebels a second round in a row. And we've seen rounds like this where it seems like Julio's disciples have a good hand up, a good leg up in the round, but they can't close it out. And that's been an issue for them, not only just here in that other round that just happened on Oregon, but it also happened a few times on Skyscraper too.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that Julio's disciple are going to want to figure out quickly, because the mental could already be slightly chalked for them after that 7-3 on Sky. And if they continue to go down more and more rounds on their map pick, there's going to be a little bit of worry. We are on the offsite here, which their one attacking win on Skyscraper was on the offsite. So we'll have to see if they can recreate that success. We're going to see the Osa come out, something that is very typical on not only this map, but this site as she has been introduced. And it's going to be the Cade who's going to attempt to try and keep those walls tricked. But they are able to get one, and that's going to be out of control, gone and dusted. Taco going to take half HP. It's actually going to be the Ace working on the other side here. Might try to go for some sort of late plays. He does open the castle barricade to meeting double, but it's actually going to be Nito now taking a lot of damage as Thermite begins to open up this side of the wall, but it's going to be Dino Doug to find one. Can't find the next. The nade does down him, but it's going to be Prism to fall, and another one as Nito goes down to burn turkey as well. We've gotten swung back into this 2v5. This is not what you want to see. The attacks from Julio's disciples just not working out well. They're not clearing out the power positions. And because of that, it's now a 5v2. Dino Doug pick back up. And it's going to come down to the two remaining players of Ace and Osa to try and combat a unbelievable task here against the HK Rebels.
Yeah, Hong Kong Rebels are swinging, exposing themselves, giving themselves up. And Julio's disciples aren't really making them pay for it. They're using their utility properly. They get attic control. They have that attic area on lockdown, at least with the Osa shields, but they can't really help themselves when it comes to the overaggression that is Hong Kong Rebels that isn't getting punished by them. And so now Ghost does want to kill onto the attic player finally, but you have 3 more to find, and their sights are all trained on you. You can't beat 3 guns at once, and he sure can't. And that's Hong Kong Rebels 3 rounds in a row, 3 rounds back to back, and that means a 3-0 lead here on Oregon.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be playing into the minds for Julio's disciples. You've given up the trifecta of site rotations, and now they get to go back to one that they, once again, kind of played over aggressively, but were able to find the advantages quickly. And so that's got to play into your mind. Julio Disciples are not a bad team by any stretch. It just seems like maybe they're losing the plot here on their attacks. They're split pushing, but the main push is not working out. And that's where the problem seems to be coming in. Going back to this top floor site, though, this was a big round for Nito. And unfortunately, has been a little quiet since that round. He found all 3 kills on the first round. And this is just, I feel like HK Rebels being able to shut out some of the bigger players that showed up, not only in that first round of this map, but the last round. Prism, I believe, 1 kill away from double digits, is yet to be able to even find the scoreboard. Yet you still have Doug on 6, Rye on 4, and Burnt on 3. So they're able to shut down those power players we saw on last map, and the rest of the team is just not being able to pick up the slack that's being felt right now.
Yeah. It's a lot of different issues that are culminating into this 3-0 deficit at the moment for Julio's Disciples, but a lot of that can be easily fixed. Misdroning, not droning each other, and that can be easily fixed by just doing the complete opposite. Sounds easier said than done, but for some of these comp teams, it is easier. It is easier done than said, and it's just simple stuff that they're messing up on, and it could be messing with their mentals and causing a mental blockage. We'll never know. Hopefully, though, this 4th round could be a little bit more competitive than the 3 ones that, or than the other ones that we've had before. We've had some good rounds coming in from Julio's Disciples, don't get me wrong. They just haven't been able to close them out, and that's been a terrific issue, at least on their side of things. Hopefully, that was a lot different in this round. 4th round now on kids, and again, I mean, you see the setup here for Hong Kong Rebels. Not any different from last time. You still have Rai in that attic, or sorry, in the tower, in a big tower position, but just on a different operator playing that Jaeger.
Yeah, I have to say, I did really feel like they took the trophy extremely fast, and it's actually going to be Bipola who gets caught with the Wamida Scout, and that's what we were talking about earlier. The player being quickly behind the drone is a huge thing. Prism is going to be able to do some damage, but it's actually going to be Ghost from underneath, and now Rai stuck trying to fight his way back into being able to help his teammate. Burnt Turkey getting damaged up quite heavily as well. Nito manages to find another Ghost again, a flawless, and it's over just like that. Able to find their first round as they're just able to win the gunfights that they have been sorely losing, and now they manage to find themselves on the board. Finally a round for Julio's Disciple on their attacking half.
Yeah, flawless one at that. So that should get them hyped up for sure, as they seem to be attacking into this basement site that Hong Kong Rebels want to choose into. Hong Kong Rebels still have a pretty healthy lead, so it's not too much for them to worry about at least. But for Julio's Disciples, at least when I see teams that have, you know, even if it's like a 4-1, you know, 6-3 or something like that, we saw it in the last map, it didn't really pay off as well. But when teams do get that very first round on the board, it's a round on the board, even despite the deficit, and it could contribute to them getting a lot more confident in a lot of these different rounds. Basement, though, is going to be the site, like I mentioned, and this is a site that Julio's Disciples not only had the man advantage on, but they still lost because they couldn't find a way to get that bomb down, and just gave up so many isolated picks against the last 2 players alive on that round, Doug and Burnt Turkey. And it was a round in which they could have easily won had they just pressed F.
Yeah, and I definitely have to say the big reason they lost the round on this site last time was because of all players left. It was the smoke. Those smokes forced them off the plant, and they really had nothing that they could do about it. They just had to attempt to get off plant and find a new position. But at that point, Doug had already rotated back down, fried one of their players, and was beginning to apply that pressure. That was the big problem last time, really just was such a hard play against a smoke. If any other operator was left alive, I think Julio's Disciple would have taken that, but Rai played it perfectly. We are seeing this bomb site come back downstairs, not going to opt to go upstairs again, and it's actually going to be a really heavy security meeting hold. And if they're not careful, there's also one up above who's going to try and get the player above, and I believe that was Doug who does. So he's going to be able to start pushing down White, and I thought the headshot was there, but it wasn't. And Doug manages to take another one. Prism gets driven down to a lot of HP as well. Burnt Turkey not able to find it, but that's going to be 2 players down as Taco is able to find another one. And this has fallen apart at the seams for Julio's as Coast goes down as well. Doug on a mission of Apoa in the C4. It's over before it can even begin. They gave you small tower, but they will give you no more, and you will fall to that roam.
Flawless rounds back to back for both teams, and Hong Kong Rebels in that round, that wasn't necessarily a round based off of utility. That was a round just based off of raw gunfights and just off of wild swings in which Julius Disciples couldn't really shut down. A lot of players just died and couldn't really win their gunfights. And honestly, Doug dies on the top of that white stairs. Julius Disciples, they might have a chance at that round to at least shut the roaming down from Hong Kong Rebels, but they didn't. Doug doesn't die. He gets a 2K on that round, and his teammates back him up with kills of their own. Kids is going to be the next site choice here for Julio's Disciples to attack into, and they've won this site flawless once before, but can they do it again? That's the big question mark.
Yeah, this has gone in a lot of interesting ways, at least this site has. We saw the very close 2v1 come out, and then we saw the flawless round. So it's going back and forth for both teams, and it's actually not really a shoo-in. A 4-2 defensive split, or I guess for their sake, attacking split, wouldn't be horrible. It's not something that I would consider the end of the world. It's something that can happen very easily with just a few mistakes. So they are going to want to get that 4-2 split, because I feel like if they do go down 5-1, it might be a lot worse for them moving forward. However, we did see quick speed come out from Nitto, and that's what we're going to see again, as he does take fast into trophy, but last time they pretty much gave him this as well. So I will be intrigued to see what differences they attempt to make now versus what they did in that previous round.
Yeah, for some odd reason, not really an odd reason, but Hong Kong Rebels allowed this area of the map to be controlled by Hong Kong Rebels. They would not reinforce Attic that way, nor would they not have a setup in Trophy if they weren't prepared for Julio's Disciples to take care of it. But they do pop a Goyo canister early to keep that push, to stave off the push from Julio's Disciples on that Trophy main door. And even though that's going to hold them off for 20 seconds, that's a Goyo canister wasted. And unless they have a second one there, that could speak to some troubles towards this for the Hong Kong Rebels defense. But Julius Disciples, you can't really just depend on one doorway to be your only entrance into sight. You have to open up more. But that is a good opener in itself. Nito finds the kill into Rai, and that's the smoke down.
Yeah, Rai's been playing, I would think, a little bit more passively when he's on that smoke, and for some reason he opted to take the gunfight, and that's actually going to be the biggest pick that you could get first off the board. Those smoke canisters going to be stopping those pushes for up to quite a few seconds, and it's going to be Burnt, who I guess wants to go at it next, but he just sees the elbow, and it is going to be Burnt Turkey who's going to be able to get Nito off the board, and I do believe both grenades were still in pocket. Nas going to try and work his way underneath, and he is going to be able to do some damage to Vapoa on that Ash charge, but less than a minute. What are you going to do, HK Rebels? You got to push, and you've got two doorways to do it through.
Yeah, you also have Julio's Disciple also has like only 4 drones left in their pocket, and so that means that they probably will not have a lot of intel to work off of, and that's been something to ring true in our mouths for so long throughout this matchup. Chu just blindly peeks, doesn't expect the swing from Burnt Turkey despite his teammate dying to that same angle, and now you have players kind of just doing their own thing across the map, not really doing anything to help win the round, and they just get picked off very, very easily. A player on the top of white stairs, Prism finds his way inside of sight, finds the kill, but can't find anything more than that. And there goes Nas, but again, Hong Kong Rebels, as dominant as can be, gives up the first pick onto a crucial time-wasting operator. And even though Julio's Disciple does open up the game's wall and does have trophy control and does waste some utility from the Hong Kong Rebels defense, they just cannot win their gunfights, and Hong Kong Rebels take a dominant 5-1 lead on their defensive halves.
Yeah, just not really sure what was going on there. Chu forcing a face check. You got to wonder, where are his drones? Are they not available? Can no one maybe just give him a second to help drone him through that crucial part of the map? But instead, he's just face checking, and he face checks the wrong way. And that's going to be kind of the end-all be-all story. It just feels like the information isn't there, something we did talk about quite a few times in the last map. and it's going to continue to be a reoccurring theme. 5-1 down, you got to win the map. We're going to need to see a lot come out of Julio's disciples if they want even a sliver of a chance to try and make this work. And Rai drone somehow, what? How's it made it out of that predicament? They do eventually get it, but it looked like two dudes trying to run into the same wall there as both of them missed the drone as it attempted to run away.
It's a very interesting play-by-play on the drones.
Hey, he was Tokyo drifting in there. He wanted that drone survival.
In there, a song that's like a really popular song with like Tokyo Drift, and I really like it. Oh, what the hell just happened to here? Okay, Ghost just takes a lot of damage trying to spawn. Pika's gonna quickly run away out of there. Doesn't have any dock stems, Thunderbirds, Helio stations, whatever you want to call them, Kona stations. Sorry, I call them Helio stations. Kona stations to heal him up, and he's gonna stay like that for a majority of the round unless he's dead, which is when he's at 0 HP. But Hong Kong Rebels, they don't get that first pick, but they do a lot of damage early to this run where Ghost was just kind of lurking around the map.
Yeah, the little bit of roam coming out here. Ghost did probably, I imagine, take damage from either a teammate or possibly from the front door being shot out. But they do now know that one is in T2 as well, and that's going to be worrisome. And it's actually going to be Ghost that manages to find one, but there's the retrade that we talked about, something that I felt like we didn't see from Julio's that we do see from HK Rebels. But where has the Valkyrie gone down? She's not back down to site. Was playing in tier 2, was droned out. It does look like she's back on site, so they're going to be able to start taking this vertical. And we see Taco getting brought that buck, and they actually have 2 more of those can openers that they can attempt to use on any other hatches should they want to try and open up a bit more. But right now, just kind of looks like a little bit of stalling. Rai's still on rappel outside Big Tower, and just kind of trying to find that information now. Maybe not so much stalling.
Plenty of drones in the pockets of Hong Kong Rebels as they look to find a way to enter on the site. They have the map control that they want, but they're... Oh, that's an interesting kill. That's not something that you would normally expect somebody playing on the bottom of their E-Box hatch, and Vipoa certainly didn't. He was on top of the hatch, knew it was open, just didn't expect Nito to be playing there, and that's going to cause a rotate from Hong Kong Rebels to come out over towards the construction area so that Nito could be swiftly dealt with. But he's escaped long ago from that position. Doug is holding it, but how long can he hold it? He needs to find that kill for his team, and at the moment it seems like Nito's in, well, between a rock and a hard spot, but this is a pretty common position for any Jaeger to hold, and he can hold it for as long as he wants until Hong Kong Rebels force him out.
Yeah, and that's going to be the force out right there, like you said. And it's just a swing. What has gone down? Rai finds 2 onto Nazi and Prism. What just transpired? What happened here? It's all going to be left to Chew. They don't know he's in freezer, so he could stop this at the right time. He's just going to wait. This is going to be huge. He finds the one. They've got to go for the plan or the kill, but Dino is just too good. He can't be stopped, and he puts his team on a match point. We're seeing another huge play. You don't want to take this team to Oregon. VODs or not, this is their map.
VODs or not, yeah, this is their map. It doesn't seem like their homework has been done here from Julio's disciples, as everything that could go wrong for them has gone wrong so far. 6-1 lead for Hong Kong Rebels. There's not to say that these rounds have been like absolutely dominant. There's only been like 2 flawless rounds, and that one of them has been for Julio's disciples. The other went into Hong Kong Rebels' favors on one of their defenses. Some of these rounds have been fairly close. It's just Julio's disciples haven't been able to cut the mustard when it comes to, again, just them finding a way to execute onto site, or even just finding players that have been what the hell just happened? They just popped the Goyo on accident. Anyways, it's just been really, at least for their attacks, it's just been they can't find a way to execute properly, or they can't really find the players that they need to frag out on, or their intel gathering has just been a little bit not too great, and it hasn't been helping them too much. Their droning, at least for them playing for each other, hasn't been too awkward. But I mean, as you saw there, Goyo canister's been popped early, and that was on over by the laundry side of things. So if that doesn't tell you anything about the mentals of Julio's disciples so far on this map, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I think that also tells you just maybe a little bit of frustration, although 100% probably wasn't intentional.
Mhm.
That's the kind of thing that's happening right now. They are misplaying utility, they're accidentally shooting their own time wasting gadgets. And these are things that are just going to cause a whole lot of problems. But this Rome game is actually coming out quite heavy, and Ghost doesn't see it coming. And although Taco would have had the free pick back anyways, it is going to be Vipoa that does manage to find the kill onto Ghost, and that's going to be such a huge start. They do have to worry about Capcan traps, but Taco is just opening every other angle to go away from doorways, and therefore those Capcan traps probably not going to be so effective if you don't even have to go through the doorways. You can just leapfrog through one wall to another. They do have a little bit more roam presence here. We do see someone on top of white stairs, but this is getting a bit worrisome, losing that player early on and just having no clue. And if Chu is, that could have been a swing from security if they had known where he was, but he gets away with a C4. But that's actually a big win for HK Rebels. That's a C4 off the board they no longer have to worry about.
Oh, nice frag though there from Nas to catch out Vipoa, who could have provided some extra bit of pressure on the top of those freezer stairs against Chu, who has suddenly escaped from it. He hears that server hatch being open, wants to rotate a little bit early so he isn't caught out at least off guard as he's trying to rotate under the hatch. He does so pretty nicely, but also pretty important pick, very important pick that goes into Julius Disciple's favor. Vipoa, who hasn't had the best of maps, was pretty good on map number 1. You have more players kind of stepping up for Hong Kong Rebels, such as Burnt Turkey, such as Rai Rai, such as Doug. Doug did have an impressive match last time. He's having a really impressive one here, 13-2, doing well. But again, good pick. You take off 2 nades off the hands of Hong Kong Rebels, but you also take off a very important entry fragger that could help them when Hong Kong Rebels want to make that late push down these hatches.
Yeah, coming down to the final 35 seconds, HK Rebels are going to have to make another big play happen. This is exactly kind of what they did last time. Push the bunker, drop the hatch, and just go for all the kills. They do know where one is, but it's actually going to be Nas who's feeling himself, but he goes for the phone call. He tries to turn off the cell phone, and it's going to be Burnt Turkey to see that he's trying to get on Twitter to tweet about this round, and he's going to put him down. Nas has a very good position here with that 1.5, and he's going to be able to help his teammate as well. This is coming out big. Chu manages to not lose the gunfight a second time around, and Prism puts down Burnt Turkey. Oh, finally, some redemption coming for the side of Julio's Disciple. Not done just yet. And then the claim to be better than PXG. Good job, Julio's Disciples, to not be a 7-1 for PXG to follow it.
Yeah, not just having a very big round there from Julius Disciples gets the all important one, a very important refrag to put his team level on the main account. Helps his smoke player who's playing on that shoulder on elbow, and just overall just helped his teammate a lot. You know, he helped his teammate when he got the first trade. Helping the Goyo at least escape or at least stop Vipoa from applying that extra bit of pressure on the top of freezer stairs. Again, helped his smoke player in the elbow as that player was going to swing him. He just arrived when he was needed, and that allowed the other players for Julio's Disciples to play their power positions and to swing from their positions when they needed to. Because honestly, if that elbow player gets that smoke and Nas is just a little bit too late, Hong Kong Rebels get like maybe like it's a 1-for-1 trade. I'm thinking like a 3v2, and then that player in the hallway dies because of the elbow player or whatever the case may be. It's just a lot of what ifs, but Nas stops it with 2 of those kills. Pretty nice round from him, and I love seeing stuff like that from fraggers.
Yeah, and it's especially the team play. You know, like we talked about, it's something that I felt like HK Rebels is doing a little bit better. Now Julio's Disciples manages to do it themselves by getting by playing each other's trades and frags. Even if the initial player would have gone down, should have been immediately traded off. And then you add on top of that the fact that Chu was able to find one onto the pillar player. It just spelled well, but it's actually going to be Nitto, the other top frag for Julio's Disciples, to get taken down early. He does do a lot of damage to Taco, but Taco's been having a bit of a rough game, so you know you're not really sweating it that much. And is there a frostbite? How did he go down? Taco down from something. I'm not sure what, and I think It's actually going to get traded off if they know about this, but if they don't, they're going to have the opportunity to pick him up. There's a player playing underneath, and that is Nas, who goes for the C4, but there's no one home, and he is going to begin to rotate back down and try to get back towards site to help out his team.
Yeah. Bipo is gonna rotate over to Taco to at least pick him up for now, but Hong Kong Rebels to get that first pick onto Nito. And they have plenty of more to find. They still have some of the map to clear as well. Trophy is going to be an area that they need to clear too. But Chu finds the kill, swings from that attic hold from Pit, and finds that kill onto Doug the Ash, a player who's been absolutely nuclear. Lights out for Hong Kong Rebels in this match, now going 13-4. And that puts Julio's Disciples in a really handy dandy lead. Said that they can build confidence from like one round, and so maybe that one round on basement was just that, a confidence round, a confidence booster. But Hong Kong Rebels, again, you still have many more mistakes to make, and you also still have this round to go too, so it's not too much to worry about. It's just an important player, an important pickup, but everybody on Hong Kong Rebels is really important too, so nothing to scoff at. Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, the Iona clone did not spot out the Jaeger underneath, and actually Taco's just going to get aggressive. He's an addict, and I don't think the smoke player is going to know, but it doesn't even matter because there's somebody on windows to take him down. They've got site control here, and they could look to go for a plant. Nas goes down through the smoke as well. This is so big, and another one's going to swing, but it's Burnt Turkey you're swinging. Remember the name as he's able to find a second one. And just like that, a round that looked poised for Julio's Disciple is going to be looking like it's against their favor. Ghost not known where he is just yet. The call should have came, but they do look like they have an idea of where he is now in a 2v1 in a post plan. It's all or nothing. Ghost, you got to pull this out for your team. You'll become top frag and the new hero for Julio's Disciple if you can keep them into this one. And he's not going to be able to find one. The nade punches him in the face, doesn't get the down. But now the players have spread out. Burnt Turkey looking the wrong way. He's got such a low HP. Taco, but so low time. He goes for the feed. It's a quad clutch from Ghost. He's going to keep his team in it for another one, and they get another round on the boards.
What an amazing clutch there from Ghost. A 4K clutch. Remember, you said remember the name of Burnt Turkey. I'm remembering the name of Ghost. Christ Almighty. You know, that's
we forgot that name pretty fast.
That's a Siege T3 moment there, Jesus Christ. But I remember the name of Ghost, and you better put some respect on it. A 4K for him in that round. A nice 1v2 clutch. The last two players from Hong Kong Rebels not really operating on a lot of accurate information, it seems, because they were both split up from each other kind of far away. They weren't really looking at the right angles, and there wasn't a drone on the feet or anywhere near Ghost, so it wasn't like any consistent information neither that the last two Hong Kong Rebels players could really focus on or anything like that. And that gives Julio's Disciples another round. 3 more rounds. 1 more round, as the SI audience would chant if there were an audience. I'm sure no audience, sorry, not for TPO, my bad. But anyways, Meeting Kitchen is going to be the next site choice here for Julio's Disciples. Usually a tertiary site choice, an off-site choice, and maybe, just maybe, Hong Kong Rebels could close it out here, or Julio's Disciples will come out with another bar burner of a round.
Yeah, and they're going to need it because they have a tall mountain to climb. And they're going to have to pull off quite an incredible comeback here. It's going to be a tough one, but they have begun to see some of these players go big. We see Nas, Nito on 7 apiece. Ghost now, like I said, gets the top frag spot. He's 1 away from double digits, and he has been stepping up quite big for his team. But Vapoa is in extremely fast, and if they're not careful, this could catch them off guard. But it actually looks like Nito is ready for this, as he was already on the angle. We are on the offsite now. This is going to be the toughest one to hold, but if they can hold this one, they get to go back to the default stuff, but Nito goes down early again. A big pick there, and as long as they watch out for the cap can traps, they should stay clear of giving him any freebie picks moving forward. They've already shot one as well, and now the only player left upstairs, I believe there's one in Big Tower, and it looks like there's also one still playing in Kids or by Big Window. Such a big pick. And it looks like Ghost is actually going to play with God downstairs. Burnt Turkey. I said, remember the name, and we do. And that's another 2 cap can traps down. So, once again, this is starting to look real good for HK, but Nas brings it back.
Yeah, Nas with the impact frags yet again. This is the same case that happened in the last defense that Julius Disciples played on Basement. Nas gets one of the first refrags, but it's not an even man count that he's able to bring back, and so it's still the minute advantage for Hong Kong Rebels. Plus, you have second floor control, and you have a sledge. Even though your buck is dead, you have a second heart breach to ensure that you can make these vertical angles and to make Julius Disciples sweat as they try and hold sight. Prism tries to battle out the vertical angles from below, but happens to just be knocked out by Doug, who's playing above with the sledge of Taco. And with just about a minute left to muster here for Hong Kong Rebels, they have a lot of control, plenty of time to make it up, but there goes a refrag from Chu to put his team 1 man away from tying it up.
Yeah, and the worst part is the Castle's got this. If he can, oh no, but he comes off the drop spot. If this is a perfect time to drop, they can attempt to go for it, but the double flashes are going to come out, but they're actually, I think the second one might have got him. We're down to 30 seconds. You're going to have to make the play, HK. Chu's getting absolutely tagged up. He's going to go for the swing.
No,
He can't hit it, the metal bars. But he tries to rotate in, but it's actually going to be Chu who finally finishes off Taco up above, but now he's in a post plant. He's got Rye to deal with up above. He's got no health. Chu, it's your turn, but it's not going to be. HK Rebels are finally able to shut the door at any sort of comeback from Julio's Disciples, and they punch their ticket to playoffs. And I believe every team that has been invited, as far as I remember so far, has made it through the upper bracket final to playoff qualification.
Yeah, so far so good from the invited team. So far so clean from Hong Kong Rebels. 2-0 is the scoreline. They've been undefeated so far, haven't lost a single map through the whole playoff stage. And this loss for Julio's Disciples means that they get knocked down to the loser bracket and they have to play for their lives. If they lose that game in the loser bracket, then they are out for TPL. They won't have a chance in the playoffs, but then they also have to play another game if they win it. So, you take what you can get, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be any big deal for Julius Disciples as they have to play an extra game, whereas Hong Kong Rebels, they prove that they were here, that they are invited for a reason, just like AAA and SCS. Everything happened for a reason. The higher powers always have a plan. That's it.
Yeah, HK Rebels played really well. Julio Disciples had some moments of brilliance, but just not enough to counteract how well HK Rebels were playing. They do get that opportunity in the lower bracket final to attempt to punch a ticket for playoffs as well, and I'm sure they're going to want to. They're going to want a second chance at HK Rebels or anybody else they meet in the playoffs. They have the players, just need to figure out the little kinks. Unfortunately, our second matchup of the day is going to be unfortunately canceled for unknown reasons. So unfortunately, this is going to be your only TPL matchup today, but I like to say it was pretty interesting. We enjoyed the matchup. We love seeing the names, and the clutches were huge. But I've been Wet Nude with my co-cast Custer, and we will see you guys next time.